Hello YouTube and welcome to on Gaming. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at the top 9 games from January 2015. Now some of these games are actually remastered versions of games from the past, but since they're so great and so awesome, you actually have to go and play them again because they're just too awesome. And the other games I'm going to mention are indie, and then there's a few games that are not indie at all and are actually by big companies, but nevertheless they're worth mentioning because they're really worth playing. Now let's start with the game number 1, and the game number 1 is called TENGAMI. Now what is TENGAMI? Well, that's kind of hard to explain. TENGAMI is essentially a puzzle game, and it's sort of like a game that lets you play inside a pop-up book. And specifically it's a Japanese pop-up book that follows Japanese mythology with awesome amazing graphics, awesome amazing music, really interesting story, and quite a lot of really unique concepts. Now it's a very pleasing game. It's a game that's going to make you feel really good about yourself, and actually it's a game that's going to make you feel like this was totally worth the money. Now one thing about this game is that it's relatively short, and also since it's a puzzle and since it's very linear, there's not much replay value, unfortunately. But at $9.99, and that's without a sale, it's actually an excellent, super good indie game that you totally have to get and play right now. The design is awesome, the graphics are great, the music is amazing, and the storyline will make you smile and feel like it was totally worth the money. All in all, this is probably one of the best puzzle games I've played in the many years, and definitely worth your time. The next game is called Blackguards 2. This is a sequel to Blackguards 1, and this is a turn-based game. It's a turn-based strategy mixed with RPG elements, and is sort of reminiscent of an old school game, but this has quite a lot of really awesome new features. There's a lot of magic to choose from, there's a lot of character development, there's a really good storyline, and lots of skills that you can use with each and every character. This game also has a lot of replayability, because you can basically choose various types of actions and various types of characters and see if you can actually get a much better result by replaying a certain level with a different type of a character. As of today, this is actually probably also one of the most fun and also one of the more complex turn-based RPG games, and it definitely will make you feel like you've achieved a lot once you finish the game. Now this game still has a lot of negatives as well. There's actually quite a lot of bugs and quite a lot of unresolved issues. It's also not a huge improvement since the first part. Blackguard 1 was good, it wasn't great, but it was good, but this one still kind of looks very similar to it. The other thing is that the combat itself doesn't really give you much freedom in terms of how you can finish a level, so there's always a certain thing you have to do and a certain thing that you must achieve in order to finish every level. And also the game is quite challenging. Some people may not actually like that because it is not an easy game at all. It will take you quite a lot of thinking, quite a lot of planning to finish every level, and you'll definitely have to restart quite a few times because sometimes things will just get too complicated. All in all, this is still quite a great game, and it's actually very enjoyable to try to finish it. It's probably one of the better turn-based strategy RPG games in a few years, and you'll definitely enjoy finishing the storyline as well. But the main disadvantage that this game has currently is its price. For an indie game at $40, I think it's quite steep. Even though it is a good game and it's actually worth playing it, I think I would wait for a sale before I would get this if I were to get it again. Next we have a game called War, or it's actually called War the Game, and this is an indie strategy game. But this one is very different from anything you've probably experienced before. Well, okay, it's not super different, it's actually very similar to a game called DEFCON that came out a few years ago, but a lot more complex with a lot more interactive features. In a nutshell, this is an RTS or real-time strategy game where you play on a world map and you choose a nation and you try to defeat other nations in a total war type of environment. Now the controls here are really simple, and so is the layout. There isn't really nothing that will confuse you because you basically just move around units and you construct new units and you try to take over bases and cities and destroy your opponent. But to be really successful in this game, especially in the multiplayer, you really have to learn quite a lot of little things about this game, especially you need to know what units are good against other units and what you should and shouldn't do in certain situations. Graphically, the game is really simple, so it will actually run on even much older machines. And in terms of sound and everything else, it does have good music and good sound, but nothing to, sing songs about, pun intended. Also, at $10.99, the entrance fee is really low, so it's totally worth getting it, especially since it kind of looks and plays like a more complex version of Risk, the board game, and it does make you feel like you're actually controlling the entire country and trying to defeat everyone in this massive world war. But the game is obviously not perfect, and one of the main concerns that I do have for this game is that it's a little bit too simple in terms of the actual combat. So once you start attacking something or someone, you don't really get to control anything, you don't get to do anything, you just get to see the statistics of each unit, and basically you see them either succeed or die. So in that sense, the only real control you have in this game is moving the units around and trying to conquer cities. But it still makes this game quite interesting and still worth the money, especially because it's so cheap. Next in line is another strategy game, and this time it's a game called Grey Goo, The War is Evolving. And this is actually as RTS as it gets. This is literally the old school RTS game that has been improved, polished, and made into a super RTS. So for those of you who are basically nostalgic about the old days of Command & Conquer or Warcraft, this is it. This is the game you want to get. It has unique storyline, it has really awesome characters, it has really excellent play style, and lots of variety of units, 3 specific, very unique races, or I guess sides that you can play as, and lots of strategic moments that will make you feel like the king of the hill. This game features both excellent single player mode and multiplayer mode, and it does have a lot of really excellent multiplayer levels that you can use to basically play this in a similar style to StarCraft 2, where you can actually turn this into a competition or even an esport. And just like StarCraft, the 3 sides that you get to play as are very distinct and very unique, with one side specifically, which is Goo, being so different that it's actually totally unique even for an RTS model, where basically all of the units and all the constructions are done in such a different manner that it's nothing that you've seen before. All in all, this is actually an excellent game. There's very little negative to say about it. It has super fun gameplay, it has just the right pace, just the right amount of strategy and difficulty. And really the only concern, or the only negative or problem that I have with this game is its price. At $55, it is basically a premium title, even though it's technically an indie game. Now, I don't mind paying that much, but not everyone is going to buy this game, especially since you can get StarCraft 2 for at least half the price. So if I were to get this, I would probably wait until a sale, unless you really need a RTS fix, and in that case, that would be it. In terms of other gameplay features, it doesn't actually have anything different from other RTS games, but it is definitely one of the best, if not the best, RTS that has come out in the last 2 or 3 years. And I would even go as far as to say it's actually even more fun than StarCraft 2. And next in line is Dying Light. You've probably expected this to come, and yes, it has to be on this list because Dying Light is by far one of the best, if not the best, zombie games, survival games, and other types of games that has come out in a while. So what is Dying Light if you've never heard of this before, and if you live in a cave for the past few years? Basically, it's a mixture of Far Cry-like experience where you have a map with a variety of things you can do on the map, and a sandbox-like approach where you can essentially explore, complete side quests, complete missions, or discover secrets. It also obviously has zombies because it is a zombie game, and not just one type of zombie, but different types of zombies, from ridiculously slow-moving zombies that you can just literally walk past and not ignore, to ridiculously fast-moving zombies that will chase you and eat your brains out and will scare the crap out of you. It also has another really important feature, and that feature is parkour. It basically feels and plays a lot like Assassin's Creed from the first person. Basically, you can climb everything. You can, climb towers. You can climb buildings. You can move around the city, jumping from the roof to roof, and it really makes you feel like you're some kind of a superhero in a city filled with zombies. Except for, of course, when it gets to a nighttime, and this is when you feel like, oh my god, help me, mommy, where are you? I need your help. Because at night, this game turns into a survival horror. Nighttime in this game means some really creepy zombies will come out and will start chasing you, and you'll see nothing because it's so dark, and if you use the light they'll see you. So yes, there's actually two games in one. One is fast-paced action and one a survival horror. On top of that, there's quite a lot of variety of different choices you can do in this game. There's lots of different weapons. You can actually build your own weapons, you can collect things and different equipment to create new items, and in that sense the game feels a lot like The Last of Us from the PS3, PS4, and it really makes you feel like you're in this desolate world where things are not going well and you need everything to try to survive. Now, it may sound like a perfect game, and it may sound like a game that you should be playing right now, but here's the thing, it's obviously not perfect. No game is ever perfect, and in this case, it is the story that is really bugging me. The storyline and characters and voices are just really cheesy. There's quite a lot of different things about this game that are great, but the story is definitely not it. It's also a little bit cliche, and you won't really feel like completing story missions, but the game is really not about that. The game is about exploring, about developing your character, about collecting items, building items, and basically getting rid of the zombies. And also, of course, the price. The game is currently $60, and it's definitely a premium title. But you know, for a game that's similar to Far Cry and takes Dead Island, which is actually a game that was released by these same developers before, but basically it takes the Dead Island to a completely new level, remakes it, makes it so much better and so different and so much more fun. It's totally worth the price. I think it's definitely worth the money, and I think it's definitely a must-play of 2015. The next in line is Life is Strange. This is a game by Square Enix, and it's ridiculously cheap right now. For the first episode, you only have to pay about $5.50 or $5. So what is this game? Well, it capitalizes on success of Telltale games, and this is games like The Walking Dead that had quite a lot of success both on Steam and off Steam. It basically made the company what it is today. And essentially, it's a really long cutscene where you get a few choices, you get to play your character for a little bit, but for the most part, what you'll be doing is watching the storyline and immersing yourself in the atmosphere. So this is basically an atmospheric experience. Unfortunately, it's not very long. Episode 1 will only take you about 2 hours to finish, but there's 5 episodes in total that are planned, and there's even Season 2 that's already on pre-order that you can actually purchase. Now, this game has actually been compared to Twin Peaks in its in the way that the storyline is being told, and also it has a bit of I guess Heavy Rain from PS3, because it does have a very similar type of a gameplay. It's definitely not like The Walking Dead, where you had this desolate world and you were basically surrounded by hopelessness and fear. Here, it's sort of the opposite almost. You're in this beautiful, really awesome world. You're a teenage girl. Your life is actually not too bad, but suddenly things go strange for you, and you discover new powers and you become different. The other thing about this game is obviously the music, and the music is what makes this game so atmospheric. They've released a unique soundtrack for this, and it's really good. It's actually one of the better soundtracks I've heard in games in the last few years. And so all in all, this is definitely a must-play, because story-wise and atmosphere-wise, it's definitely a game that will make you remember it forever. Now, in terms of negatives, they're quite obvious. 1, the game is too short. 2, it's quite linear. 3, it's basically episodic, and you have to wait for episodes to be released, and so it will probably take at least a year to release all 5 episodes, if not longer. And lastly, the replay value here is very low. I think unless you really love the story or something, you probably won't be replaying this once you finish it. But if you're a fan of games from Telltale Games, you definitely have to jump on this one as well. And now let's take a look at the remastered games. There's 3 remastered games I'm going to mention, and all 3 are totally awesome. First one is Fahrenheit Indigo Prophecy. This is a game that was released originally in 2005, and it's basically, without spoiling it too much, it's an adventure game with some awesome, mysterious, and horrible and scary story that will make you remember the game forever. It has some of the more unique gameplay elements, even by today's standards, and it's actually the game that was praised for its creativity, for its uniqueness, and for its awesome storyline back in the days. And even today, and that's why it was remastered. Now you can play it in Full HD, and it looks so much better and plays so much better as well. And the game is also 11 bucks, so it's totally worth getting. It also works on Macs. And there's really nothing wrong with it, nothing bad to say about it. The game is epic, so go and get it. Next we have Grim Fandango, or is it Fandango, or is it Fandango? I'm not even sure. This is a adventure game that was originally released in 1998, and it's a point-and-click adventure. And it really hasn't changed at all. It's still the same game, it still looks and feels and plays the same. I don't think anything was added or changed at all, and it's really good. It's a game that if you haven't played back in the days, you have to play it. The storyline is awesome, the music is awesome, the atmosphere is great, but it's a point-and-click game, and it does play like a really old-school point-and-click game, so it may not be for everyone. It's also a little bit pricier, it's $17 right now, but since it's basically classics, and since it's a game that a lot of people have fallen in love with back in the days and still love it today, it's definitely worth your time. And the last one here is Resident Evil, also known as Biohazard in certain countries, and this is the remastered edition of the game. Basically, this is your Resident Evil 1, your original Resident Evil with ultra awesome graphics, ultra awesome music and effects, and essentially the same storyline with a few new additions. The game is awesome. Even if you've played this before, even if you actually have finished this before, do it again, because this time it'll look and feel so much better. And it's still just as scary as it was back in the days. It's actually one of the best horror games I've played, and it still is. It's also ridiculously difficult, and it's very challenging, and it does have a unique cast of characters. It has basically everything that a horror game needs. It has the right atmosphere, the right lighting, the right music, right everything. It's a little bit more expensive at $20, but considering the fact that it will probably take you a few days to finish this, it's totally worth the time. And of all three remastered games, this one has been remastered the most. It's actually, it really looks like the game from 2015. Because of the shadows and the light work and everything else, it's totally epic. So go and get it now. And that's really it. These are the top 9 games from January 2015, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. Please leave a comment or correction, or just troll me if you want, I'm used to it. Anyway, thank you for watching. This has been Tierixon with the top 9 2015 January games. And please subscribe if you would like to find out what the February, March, April, and so on top games are as well. I'm going to keep posting this every month just so that you get to see what the best games of every month are. Thank you for watching, and game you later, alligators. Bye bye.